Hello everyone, welcome to Fishin', the podcast where we discuss Modern's most competitive tribe and help the whole community become better Merfolk players. I'm Cody, one of the co-hosts of this show, and not Cody Smith on Twitter. And we also have, as always, Matt. How you doing, Matt?
I am doing fantastic. Got a lot of schoolwork tonight, learning a new statistical software called R, which I'm really excited about because I'm going to take all that robust data sets that Wizards provides us so I can really analyze what's going on in our metas and bring some good factual answers to the community about what's going on. Just joking, we don't have data. So I'm just going to take this and actually do real work with it.
Awesome. And where can we find you on Twitter?
I'm at Matthew Caudill 8. By the way, about 2 seconds ago, Cody told me that last week I don't know how to use a mute button. So apparently I was coughing over Russell every time he was talking. So Russell, and to all of our listeners, I do apologize. We've done a tutorial. I now know how to work my own equipment.
It's a learning process. We're all becoming better, and so yeah. It wasn't every time he talked, but it was just like the only time he coughed. It felt like was when he was talking.
Well, I waited for somebody else besides myself to be talking because I thought I was hitting the mute button.
Yeah.
Clearly, all I was doing was hitting the button that said mute and doing nothing.
All right, and so we have a great guest for everybody this week, a Merfolk streamer and kind of a specialist in our topic this week. Welcome, Ford, and you're on Twitter as well, Ford, aren't you?
Hey guys, yeah, I'm on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube. All Moontime Dweller is the name.
All right, and you're a specialist in a very specific type of Merfolk, aren't you?
I mean, I really like all types of Merfolk, but yeah, my favorite is an 8Cs version of Merfolk.
All right, so we're going to be talking about 8Cs, and I thought that, who better to bring on than somebody who likes 8Cs so much that it's kind of their preferred version. So before we jump...
This actually makes me super happy, too, because 2 weeks ago we did our episode on Spreading Seas, and we got a downvote for that, which I really enjoyed. I find that funny. So hopefully we get 2 downvotes for this one. Not for you, Ford. You're awesome. For me and Cody.
Yeah, and it's what's funny is like if we get a downvote, like I want to know why. Like, tell me why. What did we do?
It's not like we're like a huge channel where like there's just a bunch of downvotes randomly on there and you can ignore it. It's like somebody actually went out of their way to downvote us. So God bless you. I want to know all about it.
Yeah.
Right.
If you're just trolling us, I want to know about it. I mean, heck, if you're trolling us, let me know. I'll start downvoting our stuff.
So remember that you can subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Google Play, all those fun places. Pretty much anywhere you can find a podcast is you could find us.
We're on Netflix and Hulu now, by the way, so you can check us out there.
We're not quite there, but we are on iHeartRadio. What the other big streaming one that ever Spotify,
HBO Go.
HBO Go. Definitely we're on HBO Go. We got that big home box office movie now, money now, and
you can go to Walmart and find us in the red box. We're there too.
And remember that you can find our stream at twitch.tv/fishcastmtg every Friday at around 9 p.m. CST, Central Standard Time. And remember, if you would like to support us monetarily, you can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/fishcastmtg, just like our new patron, Jason M. So thank you, Jason. Yeah. Thank you, Jason, for becoming a patron.
There's a lot of Jasons in the world, but Jason M's are hands down my favorite.
Because they're patrons of our channel?
No, I'm not greedy like that.
It's just an objective fact
it's just an objective fact.
Okay, well, I didn't know that. All right, so because we got a new patron, Jason got to pick the random Merfolk of the week, and actually, yeah, so it was he picked Merfolk number 33. Matt, do you want to read what our random Merfolk is?
Absolutely. So our random Merfolk this week is Deeproot Elite. 1 green and 1 for a 1/1 creature Merfolk warrior. And this is from Rivals of Ixalan, the RIX. And it has the ability, whenever another Merfolk enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on target Merfolk you control. And the flavor text, as everybody knows, I love some flavor text. You think I stand alone. I have the forest at my call, the waters at my back. I outnumber you. This guy's okay. I mean, I don't hate it by any means.
If you're playing standard Merfolk, it's definitely an auto include.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're playing Frontier Merfolk, it's probably an auto include.
If you're playing Brawl, that's for some reason at your LGS, auto include. If you're playing like a +1/+1 counters version of Merfolk, auto include, like in Commander or did you see that mono green Merfolk list that I sent you? I found on the Merfolk Discord there was a mono green Merfolk list that played with like hardened scales and deep root elite.
I have not had a chance to check that email yet. I'm gonna have to check it out.
Yeah, definitely. Ford, what do you think about this card? Do you think that this has any eternal play outside of kind of standard?
I mean, I'd like to see it in modern. It definitely harkens back to an older card from Onslaught called Elvish Vanguard, which is slightly worse. It would only pump itself every time you played an elf, and this one you get to spread counters around. So it just shows the growth and power over the years, and still kind of harkens back to the old days. I like it.
Cody and I were actually just talking. We really think that with the new MTG Arena going forward, and they haven't announced an eternal format in that, and again, I was joking earlier about Frontier, because Frontier is essentially dead in the United States, but I think we are going to eventually get a new modern, and if a new modern Merfolk deck would be a thing, this guy would probably be one of the key cards in it, at least at the moment.
I agree.
Yeah, because eventually, with Arena, I mean, they recently just did a sweep, so that if you were in the closed beta, then everything is gone. With the new beta, the open beta, basically everything, our Amonkhet, Hour of Devastation, Kaladesh block, all those are just gone. They're not on there at all. So it'd be interesting to see where they land in the final version. Like, will the final version come out after Ixalan block rotates out? Because I think that would be kind of the this is the starting point if they did go forward with an eternal format, because eventually they're going to have to, regardless of where they start.
Well, I mean, they can't just keep wiping out people's cards and then either refunding, because they're not going to make any money off that, because it's a one-time investment. The key to having a TCG is having new things come in and allowing people to play with the old stuff, but also having to have their new stuff as well. So it's going to happen eventually. It's just a matter of where the delineation line is going to be.
Yeah, so I mean, like if Ixalan is kind of the starting point for whatever new modern format they have, then I heartily agree with the both of you that this card will be kind of a 4 of staple in new modern Merfolk.
Yeah, well, and on top of that, the fact that modern has just gotten progressively more expensive, and even though they're trying to alleviate some of that cost for entry by the reprints and supplemental sets such as master sets and like Battle Bond and things like that, they're still not going to be able to keep up, especially as more and more sets are introduced. So to have an eternal format that's more player-based friendly, it would make sense for them to start. Again, I'm sure they've started exploring where that's going to be.
Yeah. So we're gonna move on to our main topic, which is 8C's Merfolk in Modern. So before we get into that, though, Ford, we wanted to ask you a few questions about your time in Magic.
Shoot.
Well, so how long have you been playing Magic?
Well, I started in like the end of 1996, 1997 with Stronghold, and got what they called precons back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Pre-constructed decks.
Yeah.
Now, was this one of those gold bordered like
the champs,
like champs decks, or was it one of those like actual like Wizards made, like it was a deck box you open and play, but it was actual real cards?
Oh, it was straight up cards. It was the Spikes cards. If you remember any of those, Spike Feeder and Spike Weaver, and I can't remember. There were several others.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, those are EDH All-Stars right there.
Yeah. That was my first deck.
if you're a fan of Harmontown, the dungeon master Spencer Crittenton has gone on record that spikes are his favorite tribe in modern or in Magic, and he was saying like when they were talking about Ixalan, he's like, I really hope they bring back spikes.
That's really funny.
What's funny was
The fact we didn't get him in Dominaria means they're not coming back.
yeah. Well, so he listed off all the spikes except for the one that was in Plane Chase. And so I commented on it, and he never responded because he's a big time podcast celebrity now. So that's fine. But so
you won, Cody. You proved him wrong. He knows.
Yeah,
it.
I showed him, and he hasn't shown his face on Twitter since.
You shot him through the heart.
Yeah,
and you're to blame. He gave Spikes a bad name.
Oh, wow.
That happened. That just happened.
Oh gosh. Oh man, we're gonna have.
I'm here for weddings. If you need a singer,
we're gonna have so few monetizable YouTube videos by the time we get to monetization. But so you've been playing Magic since about 1997-ish. How long have you been into Merfolk as a deck?
Since about, I'd say 2011 or so. It's a funny story. I was in the finals of my first ever FNM I'd ever won, and I won it with like a green-black rock deck, and I beat Merfolk. And I loved how easily he beat me in the second game that I decided to switch over, and I just haven't looked back since.
I'm trying to think. 2011. So that was what, the Alara block? Is that where we were at that point?
Give or take, yeah. I was playing Merfolk Sovereign in the main board.
Okay.
Or the main deck, sorry.
Because I'm trying to think about my Magic timeline. Because that was either right when Modern started or you were playing Extended at the time, correct?
It was right when Modern started.
Okay, it was the very beginning? Okay.
Yeah.
Because Merfolk Sovereign was also the extended version of the Merfolk deck. So that's why I'm just trying to get my my timelines in line.
Right. It might have been 2012. I'm not really sure.
Oh, it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not going to quiz you.
At this point.
At this point.
If you're wrong, then we'll get Doc Brown to take us back and like really give it to you.
Just gun it to 88 for us, right?
Really, you went with Doc Brown? You're not going to pick your like Pickle Rick guy or something?
Just because I made mention of Harmontown doesn't mean that I'm going to go to a Pickle Rick reference.
Literally had no. I don't watch that show. I watched like 5 episodes of Rick and Morty because Cody suggested it. Totally didn't get it. So like I had no idea what Harmontown was. I just went with it when you said it earlier.
Well, Harmontown is a podcast that's not related to Rick and Morty. It's just a show that he has. Like it's like a comedy like variety show, and they also play D&D at the end. So like
now you're just confusing me.
Yeah, it's its own thing. Don't worry about it. But sometimes
you're saying things I don't understand and I don't like it. I think we should call our senators and have that banned.
Sometimes science is more art than science, Morty. But anyway, so you've been playing for quite some time. What draws you to 8Cs as opposed to kind of the more traditional 4Cs build and the traditional mono blue version?
It's better.
I've always been more interested in like a linear deck and having like a 4 of just about everything in the deck. And you already have that with Merfolk, and I figure to have 2 more sets of 4 of, 8Cs in there just makes the deck even more linear. And it just seems like you can kind of shut down the opponent a lot easier.
Yeah, so you just want more consistent.
Right, more consistency. Yeah, I couldn't think of the word.
And I assume you've played the traditional mono blue build.
Absolutely.
And had some good comparisons against it. And do you think your win percentage is a lot better with the 8Cs version?
Not at all. It's a lot
really?
more fun though. It's a lot more fun.
Fair. Just because the outside looking in, because I don't play either version. I always thought the 8Cs version was personally I thought it would be a little bit more stronger. Especially in the current meta, but okay, fair enough.
It's only because you play Tron that it's stronger against you.
And I hate my lanes getting blown up. Maybe I just have a little affinity for it because it does pwn me pretty good.
Yeah.
Traditional Merfolk just has more creatures in it normally, and if you have 28 to 30 creatures in the main deck, you're just a lot more aggressive and with spreading seas, you're going to see one of them usually every game, and you're just going to crush the opponent a lot of times.
Fair. So if you were talking to somebody who was brand new to Magic, and they really, really wanted to win, and they had a choice between 8Cs, Mono Blue, and Swole Folk, you would suggest Mono Blue to them?
I would think so. Just to start out too, it's a lot easier to play. 8Cs is actually a little more difficult to play, to me, just because it has such a lower win percentage, and you kind of have to earn each win.
Fair. So, what kind of modern player would you be suggesting 8Cs to?
Someone that doesn't necessarily travel all the time to play, in GPs and Star City game opens, but is bored of winning at FNM all the time and playing like the same type, tier 1 garbage. And they want to say, hey, I want to have some fun and still try to win here.
Okay. It's kind of like Nikachu had the meme of like Merfolk at FNM, and it's like a rip dude, and then FNM at a GP, and it's Bobby Hill in front of a mirror. So it's definitely something. To me, and again, I played 8C's Merfolk on stream on Friday. I went 1-4, so don't go looking for that stream. I didn't do very well. But to me,
everybody find that stream and make fun of Cody and make him feel bad.
There's a reason it's not going on YouTube. But anyway, so my I think it actually is kind of more like Swole Folk in that you're it's kind of more like high risk, high reward, in that if you play with, if you put more thought into your plays, then you have a higher expected value. So it kind of punishes mistakes a little bit more than like a traditional 30 creature build would. Would you say that's correct, Fish?
I agree. Yeah.
So what other types of games do you play besides just Merfolk? Or modern Merfolk, Magic in general.
Magic the Gathering.
Yeah,
the thing that we're overall talking about.
I only play Merfolk, so that's it. That's it to me.
Outside of Magic, I like golf a lot. Otherwise, and I play a couple of old computer games that I got off of Steam. Heroes of Might and Magic, Age of Empires, Red Alert. If anybody remembers those from the late 90s, early 2000s. But that's really it. I don't really play very much. Huge pro wrestling and golf aficionado.
I love the contrast in that.
I actually, because I saw it on your desktop, and I went and looked for it, and I actually just started playing through Age of Empires 2 again, so I got some more solidarity with you there, Ford. All right, so we're going to go through some different matchups, just kind of common matchups that we're seeing right now. And again, I just put down matchups that I've seen a lot of playing on Moto, and also just kind of decks that I know that a lot of our listeners will be up against, at FNM and maybe even at PPTQs or RPTQs. And so I kind of want...
Cody, before we do all that, I'm just going to throw you off real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Can we talk about the major differences between the 8Cs deck and the traditional mono blue deck, just for everybody? Again, I it's obvious that we're playing the 4 extra Cs. I'm drawing a blank on the actual
Spreading
name.
Seas.
Well, it's not Spreading Seas. It's Seas Calm, I think.
Seas Claim.
Thank you. Seas Claim. But what are we taking out? Just so everybody knows.
Well, so I mean, I'll defer to Ford on this. My version, I kind of took out the 3-drop slot, so I was less interested in having Mirror Regeries, and also Harbinger of the Tides I also took out. And again, I'm kind of more high on having Phantasmal Image in the deck. I know Ford isn't quite as big on Phantasmal Image as myself, but let's hear what you take out, Ford.
Well, that's pretty much exactly what I would go for. You said Regery and Harbinger, but you don't really want to sacrifice all of your Harbingers. It's still strong, even though Trickster's is in the deck now. You also kind of sacrifice some of your 1-drops if you're playing Mistcaller or Curse Catcher, or God forbid anything else. You might also sacrifice Dismembers and or Spell Pierces in the main deck, and one might shuffle off to the sideboard.
Yeah, so you're saying basically like we're kind of sacrificing our 3-drop slot and maybe some utility slots.
Hmm.
And I mean, obviously we're going to keep in like Aether Vial. We're definitely not getting rid of Aether Vial, but it's definitely something that I think Harbinger of the Tides definitely works really well with Merfolk Trickster. So maybe there's a balance that I haven't yet tried. And again, Friday was my first time ever playing 8Cs, so I would definitely defer to you on that. Having more experience with it, but definitely Mirror Regery kind of works better at higher creature density. And when you're playing 8Cs, you're generally at a lower creature density than the full on kind of standard build.
Since we're going down the 3-drop slot, is there any case to take out a land?
Ooh. It's been done. But I think Nikachu's gone down to 19 before. And I mean it happens.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's strong. It's just like in Burn, some people go down to 18 or 19 lands, and it's always just a nightmare. So
Fair.
So I know Merfolk Joe in a few of the places on like the subreddit and the Discord has been kind of talking about going down to 18 or I think even 16. But he's also a crazy person, so he can do that if he wants. And I know that Nikachu has talked recently about going down to 19 lands on the draw. Not necessarily because you just have a higher chance of drawing, an extra land before playing anything. But I don't think I'd go down to 19. I think that's just too risky.
maybe on the draw, I can see doing that.
Well, yeah, because on the draw, basically, if you're on the draw, you already have 2 turns before you could play anything anyway, besides Aether Vial. So it's not something that like you would be quite as worried about. You basically have 2 draws before you'd be dead, or dead, dead to not drawing a second land by turn 2, or your turn 2 on the play, anyways. So I'm definitely I haven't really ever tried going down to 19. I don't think on the draw, but I would definitely not recommend in the main deck going to 19. That's my personal opinion on it, anyways. All right.
I'm with you. Yeah, I just you would definitely want to have vials. It might be something against like slivers, something that's like a vial race on the draw that you could do it against. But that's really all I would do it against. Not against any kind of control deck or combo deck, because I want to have my 20.
Well,
yeah,
awesome.
And especially like you said against like a control deck, those are decks that you want Vial in because that you don't want them to counter your creatures. Those are definitely the most important part of your deck. So, so we're gonna kind of like I said, we're gonna before Matt rudely derailed us.
Such a dick.
We're gonna go through some kind of big matchups that are currently out, and we're gonna have Ford kind of tell us, what you can expect in those matchups. So the first up is kind of a boogeyman right now is blue-white control.
Blue-white control is my least favorite matchup with when I'm playing with any deck. Really, it's always going to be like a 50-minute matchup. And now that they've printed Teferi, it's even worse.
Ugh.
Well, it also takes out the 8 of your cards, as they don't necessarily care as much about having islands or not.
This is true. Well, the biggest idea to me is actually keeping them off of white so that you can't get hit with a Wrath of God effect.
Fair.
Or get hit with Secure the Wastes at the end of your turn for 12.
No, that makes sense. Well, and also you can take out their Celestial Colonnades to take out part of their win condition, which means they're just down to their walkers and their snapcasters.
But our MVP against blue-white control is creature lands, Mutavault and or Fairy Conclave. You can activate them after a Cryptic Command, and you can still punch through for 3 or 4, depending on how many lords you have and how many you have out.
So, Ford, I have a question for you. So, we actually talked a lot about this matchup offline. But so how do you sideboard against this? So you have 8 Cs in this deck. Obviously, I would assume you don't want to keep all 8 in there for the games 2 and hopefully 3, or hopefully just 2, and you swept them. But how would you do that?
I would sideboard differently depending on how game 1 went. Like you said
Okay,
there,
let's play devil's advocate on both versions. Let's say you lost game 1 on one sideboard, and let's say you won game 1 on sideboard. How would you do that differently?
I lose game 1. I'd want to fight fire with fire and bring in as many counter spells as possible.
Okay. And then you're taking out 4 C's.
Probably the Sea's Claims, yeah. Probably the Sea's Claims, because you still get to draw a card.
And leave the Spreading Seas in there.
Yeah, because it replaces itself.
Fair.
Yeah, and yeah, that's really all I would do. I mean, really, if I'm winning the first game, I might be a little cockier, and I might take out a Vial and kind of spread around a couple of things. Maybe take out one Master of Waves or 2, because it's against Path to Exile, and that just wrecks Master of Waves. So you might even take all of those out and go with more of the counterspell, or any of the other creatures you have in the deck, like Kapala or Kira in the side, or just Tidebinder Mage can be a Grizzly Bear.
Fair. Yeah, because I mean, at that point, if you're just chipping away, life is good.
Right. If you can have 30 creatures in the main deck after sideboard against white-blue control after you beat them, I think you'll be okay.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're shutting down their colonnades, then, I mean, they have to rely on their walkers to win. And if you can keep them off alting, life's not too bad.
Exactly. Yeah, that we just need to keep Teferi on the board and not ultimate it.
And then your biggest adversary is the clock.
Yeah, at that point, yeah.
So now I know this is one point that our lists differ. So in my list, I generally run Teferi in the sideboard, and so I do agree that I'd probably take Sea's Claims come out because, like you said, they don't replace themselves. So at least you're getting to draw a card off of it, and also add Devotion for Master Waves should you choose to keep them in. But the Venser basically can put back a can't think of the name of it. It's not Wrath of God, but it's Supreme Verdict. So it can put the Supreme Verdict away, and at least defer it for a turn. And so I've run into blue-white enough times that I run 2 of Venser in the side. But that's just that's my personal taste, just because I hate running against it just as much as you do.
And I've run into enough Ensnaring Bridge and Tokens decks that I like Echoing Truth to just keep that in there. So.
Oh yeah, Echoing Truth is definitely worth its weight. So I definitely recommend. I would definitely pull in Vensers and Echoing Truths, as well as, like you said, just as many counterspells as you can afford to bring in.
Right. That's another place that we differ, Cody. But a lot of people like Deprive. I'm one of the few that's really not a fan of Deprive. It sets you back a lot, especially in this 8 Cs version when you're trying to kind of race the opponent and get ahead of them. If you're shutting off their lands, you need to be one ahead for each Cs that you've spread, in my opinion. And if you're depriving things on top of shutting off their lands, it's not really proactive.
And that might just be me being, running kind of a more traditional build. That may just be a holdover from me, my prejudices, I suppose. So don't take my version of 8Cs as the gospel truth, because
not at all. It's everybody's own version. That's fine.
Mr. 1 and 4.
Yeah. I'm the guy who goes 1 and 4. So don't listen to me. So the next one is kind of a more recent. These next 2 kind of are kind of new decks to Modern. The first one is Bridgevine. Where do you see 8Cs matching up against Bridgevine?
Bridgevine's really strong deck. It can hit you for 8 on turn 1 and put you on a clock for 2 more turns, and you got to deal with those Vengevines. There's really nothing 8Cs or mono blue or blue green or any kind of Merfolk deck can do against that sometimes. But Sea's Claim is
you're not racing this deck. I mean, if they have their foot on the gas, I mean, you're going to be on your heels the entire time, correct?
Exactly. So say if you're on the draw, Sea's Claim is your MVP here, because it's your turn 1, shut off their 1 land, and I think they actually have fewer than 20 lands normally. So they're
absolutely.
they're only going to have 2 or 3 lands maybe a game, and Seize Claim will really slow them down.
I would assume, so anybody who's been listening knows I've been playing Hollow One a lot more lately in Modern, and I assume the Hollow One matchup is probably very similar to the Bridgebind matchup.
Yeah.
So, and I know your 8Cs and traditional mono blue are a little different, but Cody and I have played quite a bit, and it seems like the games that Cody gets really punched in the Cody, radio edit that one, sorry, is the games where I really have the gas going and he just can't get off his heels. But the games where I'm just struggling is exactly as you said. Whereas I have maybe 2-3 lands out, 4 if this game is going way longer than it should, and Cody is just constantly popping the colors that I need with his spreading seeds. And again, you add 4 more in there, I mean, life can be really, really bad really, really quickly.
That's exactly how it can go. But that's where my sideboard Echoing Truth can come in. You can bounce those 2 Vengevines on turn 1. You can bounce all those zombie tokens, and you can buy yourself a turn or 2.
Yeah, and actually, Matt said it before I could say it. I kind of think that Hollow One could kind of be wrapped up in Bridgevine as well. The biggest thing is that there's no blue in this deck. So with decks like Blue White Control, like any sort of like blue-red deck, like a counterburn deck or something like that, like you're not necessarily taking them 100% off their colors. You're just taking them off of one of their colors. You're taking them off their support color. With Bridgevine, when they go fetch into shock and then you seize their shock, like you are completely ruining their whole day.
Yeah, they just bolted themselves to not be able to use a land the whole game.
I would also assume that Echoing Truth is better against the Bridgevine deck, because at least if you like Echoing Truth a Hollow One or a Phoenix, the Phoenix you can easily replay and it has haste, but the Hollow One at least has cycling, so it at least can replace itself. Whereas if you can get that Bridgevine stuck in their hand,
that's very true. You would have to. I think I would want to rely more on the Spreading Seas effects against Hollow One.
Fair. Well, I mean, and then also as you said, the tokens too. Whereas we're not worried about tokens in the Hollow One deck. Whereas I mean, they just completely disappear.
Right.
No, I'm pulling up my list as I say this because I wanted to double check that I was running Mistcaller in my sideboard, because that's definitely something I bring in, actually in both matchups, because, well, at least with Bridgevine, because Mistcaller is something that you can sack with the bridge triggers on the stack, because if a creature goes to my graveyard, then the bridge goes away and the triggers don't resolve. So it kills Bridgevine. So I wholly recommend having Mistcallers for the Bridgevine matchups.
It kills bridge from below.
Yeah, it kills. Sorry, that's a better clarification. It kills the bridge from below. It removes it from their graveyard. So if you are playing against this on Moto, I'd say that's a better sideboard pick. Obviously, at your LGS, that's meta dependent. But again, just as both Matt and Ford said, I would totally wholeheartedly agree that Echoing Truth is a solid sideboard pick for this, as well as Venser, just bouncing them and then also having a body afterwards. Like, that just seems pretty good. All right, so we're going to go ahead and go into another one that's fairly popular right now, is Mardu Pyromancer. I mean, I haven't heard a whole lot about it recently, but I still do run into it a lot, online.
It's another tough match where you kind of have to earn it. Really, to me, if you see Bedlam Reveler, you're in trouble. The game has gone too far.
Well, that, and then there's just so much spot removal in that deck, and the Lingering Souls, especially game 1, can just be brutal to deal with. This just seems like a whole lot of bad news bears just for Merfolk in general.
There again, though, this is where 8Cs can kind of shine, and you can Seize Claim and Spreading Seas and kind of punch through all those tokens. You might be taking a lot of damage, but it might be kind of a race. Kira and Kapala are great sideboard cards against this deck. Especially Kira.
So it's been a while since I've looked at some Mardu Pyromancer decks, because as Cody said, overall in the big tournament scenes, it hasn't been putting up the same results as it had been doing. But when you're playing against this, is there a specific color that you're targeting? Because in a 3-color deck, I imagine that you're picking one color and you're making sure they do not play that.
I'm least worried about red, mainly because the spot removal, like you mentioned, Path to Exile, Fatal Push, those are the public enemies number 1 and 2. So you want to really shut those down, and red I think is their primary color, but also it's where their most utility is where white and black are. Red is where the Bedlam Reveler is, then the Young Pyromancer and the Bolts, but everything else is white and black.
So essentially, just make them either a Rakdos or a Boros deck and just deal with what comes, and
Right.
let the other cards rot in their hand.
Also, this is where Nikachu's Peak might be good to come into play, and you can look at their hand and see what kind of colors they have and shut down what they need.
Are you playing Peak in your version, or are you
I'm
considering
not.
playing it?
I'm not really decided on Peak, but it is actually pretty cool, and I might be interested in trying it.
So I have tried Peak and played with Peak against Mardu Pyromancer and can confirm it feels really great. However, in 8Cs, you're kind of running out of non-creature spots to put things. So I think it'd be really rough. It'd be really difficult to fit like 8Cs. Maybe you could do like 6Cs and do like 2 Peaks.
6Cs.
6Cs, not 7Cs. Don't we're not selling the 7Cs. We're selling the 6Cs.
6Cs.
Yeah, 6Cs.
See, this is where like Wizards really missed the ball with how they ban cards. They should do conditional bannings. Like you can't play Gitaxian Probe in Storm and in Infect, but in Merfolk, it's okay.
I don't know if that's necessarily fair, but I do
I think it's fair.
I do
And
agree
that's
with
all that really matters.
I do agree with your analysis of the situation, Matt. Where like in my situation, I generally prefer to pick off white land, like white sources, because that also takes off Lingering Souls. So obviously with Mardu Pyromancer, they're making a bunch of tokens, but the biggest like Lingering Souls is really hard for us to deal with because we just do not have any flying. And so what they can do is they can gum up the ground with the elemental tokens and kind of swing over with the spirits. So keeping them off white is my personal priority. Like when I see Mardu Pyromancer, but obviously white and black are kind of like Ford said, are the primary targets.
I mean, I would imagine that the young Peasy isn't really any problem for you guys at all because you guys are putting enough bodies on the board where those 1/1 tokens really don't matter as much. And with that many C's on the deck, and the lords that you're playing, it's not like they can just like chump block you. So you're gonna get through.
Right, and I like to use one of our few removal spells on Young Pyromancer, Dismember, and just take it out.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, because that would really be your only true target that they would be playing, correct?
Yeah, you could hit Bedlam Reveler, depending on how much prowess has happened that turn. But yeah.
Okay.
Also, I'm not as concerned about Bedlam Reveler because I play Phantasmal Image, and you know what? There's nothing better than copying a Bedlam Reveler late game when Phantasmal Image is the last card in your hand. That is like that is mwah, chef's kiss, the best feeling.
Excuse me while I cast this Ancestral Recall.
Yeah, basically.
It's not Ancestral Recall. It cost 1 blue and 1 of anything. It's not.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it can't be an instant speed with the vials.
Yeah, it can be instant speed with the vial.
It's Ancestral Recall with the body.
Yeah.
And has prowess. So like when you cast more spreading seas, it just gets bigger. so that's I mean, obviously not everybody plays Phantasmal Image in their list, so that's not a realistic possibility for everybody. But again, against Mardu Pyromancer, I'm really big on again, Echoing Truth. They're making a bunch of elementals, they're making a bunch of spirits. Let's bounce them all back. And
so is
counter
Echoing
spells.
Truth the best sideboard card? Is that what I'm hearing?
Echoing Truth has a lot of targets for sure.
Okay, this is completely off topic, but I'm just popped in my head and I want to talk about it for 2 seconds. So if both you had to pick like the key sideboard card that you pull in more often than not, what would it be?
Me, the sideboard card that I bring in more often than not. I'm my guilty pleasure is Spell Snare.
Oh, fair.
I would have to say Deprive. Deprive is probably the card I bring in the most.
You guys are jerks. You just want to prove me wrong. Their answer is Echoing Truth. They're just making me look bad.
Echoing Truth does have a lot of
All right, moving
utility
on.
for sure. You're not 100% wrong. You're just kind of wrong. So
You're not 100% dead. You're just mostly dead.
I'm not dead yet.
Have fun storming the castle.
So Tron, Matt's beloved Tron. I know the answer to this, but where are we at on Tron?
Why are we even talking about this?
So let me ask you this, Cody.
I saw the show notes. I saw Tron on here. I'm like, this is just salt in the wound at this point.
There's so many Tron killers.
And the best part is, like, every other matchup in the show notes is like a full paragraph of like text, whereas it says Tron is like one sentence. So please continue.
Well, let me ask y'all this: have y'all ever walked up to one of those plastic Fisher Price 3.5-foot basketball hoops and just dunked a ball into it for fun?
I have a toddler. I do that every day.
So that's pretty much what it's like to play 8Cs against Tron.
Have you ever
It
seen that
is-
video that just popped up on YouTube of the Colorado mascot shooting the t-shirt cannon backwards and hitting himself in the balls with a t-shirt and then falling over and looking like death? That's what it
Wow.
feels. That's what it feels like being the Tron player against this matchup.
Sounds about right.
So basically, you sideboard nothing against Tron.
No, not necessarily. I would still bring in Negate, and I like Disdainful Stroke also. That's a big one for me.
Yeah.
But to be honest, seriously, Tron can beat you, and it can be bad, especially against 8Cs too. If you can just avoid Oblivion Stone and or Ugin, and if maybe you're playing against Eldrazi Tron, all is dust.
Yeah, especially as the Tron player, by game 2, they're realizing they're not probably going to assemble Tron, or at least not easily. So at this point, they're just going to kind of grind it out and try to get up to the 6-7 mana needed to play their big spells naturally, which means they're going to be playing their not ancient stirrings. Oh man, I'm drawing a blank on the name. The enchantment artifact killer, where the person whose artifact blew up, you gain 8 life.
4 life.
You're gonna be
Nature's Claim.
Is it Nature's Claim? And
Yeah.
thank you, Nature's Claim. They're gonna be playing Nature's Claim and probably hitting Nature's Claim on their own stuff to gain life. They're going to be they're going to be aggressively digging for their O stones. They're going to bring in the spot removal they have to try to keep your board as clear as possible. They're going to probably be bringing in their Thrag Daddies to, again, gum up the board and gain life, and eventually hit that Ugin or that Karn or whatever. Hopefully Wormcoil too, naturally. So that's probably what's going to be occurring.
And if you're playing mono red Tron, you also have Ghostfire.
Yes, if you're playing Mono Red Tron, you also have Ghostfire.
And I know they play Thought-Knot Seer in the sideboard too. Would you want to bring that in against 8Cs?
I probably would, yeah.
All right.
Again,
So
anything that's small, because you're again, I realistically, I would be pulling out Karns, because Karns really not, even if you play him on, you get to 7 and play him, he's not going to be doing much, because
True.
at that point the damage has already been done. But the Thought-Knot Seer you can actually play on turn 4. You can hopefully pull something good out of their hand that they've been sitting on, and then it's a 4/4 body. So even if they do have Island Walk and they're swinging in, you can put a little bit of pressure on yourself, and hopefully maybe they'll start leaving some stuff back. And then again, I mean, really, you're trying to get to the Wormcoil at that point.
Yes.
Because again, I mean, if I can get the Wormcoil in and I can get that 1 hit for 6 life, then that's when the tides, pun intended, really start turning.
And then you can hit your Oblivion Stone and blow up everything and get your tokens and really start going to town.
Exactly. So
All
again, I would assume that even though that you guys were joking around about the sideboarding, is game 2 you probably should be siding in some counter spells. Just
for
to take
sure.
take care of some of that like random stuff that the Tron player would be trying to do.
And that's what
Especially
I was talking about. Disdainful Stroke and Negate are my 2 big ones there.
Yeah, just make sure the O-Stone never hits the board. I mean, if the negate just stays in your hand the entire time, God bless you. That means they didn't draw their O-Stone.
Yeah. So, and my strategy is general, like Matt said. You just wait you hold up the counterspell. You can't let an Oblivion Stone hit the floor. You wait until you hit an Aether Vial, and you just let that Aether Vial tick up, because when you have a counterspell in hand, you can't afford to fire it off on something
Stupid.
small. Yeah, something stupid. You're definitely wanting to hit a Karn. You're wanting to turn, say no to a Karn. You're wanting to say no to Oblivion Stone. You're wanting to say no to Wormcoil Engine. There's just so much
Cody, as I said, realistically, if the Tron player kept Karn in for game 2, let it resolve. Who cares? What's a Karn really going to do against you? It's going to blow up. It's going to blow up one thing or remove a card from your hand. I mean, the worst thing the Karn can do is reset the game with whatever is stole in play.
Yeah, that's true. Because if it steals Merfolk Lords, then all of our stuff gets pumped too. So
yeah,
joke's on them. All right, so
let it resolve.
Let it resolve. So we had a few more, but we're kind of out of time. Ford, where can we find you on the internets?
Well, I'm on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube at Moontime Dweller, and I stream at least once a week, and I announce it usually in the Discord, pretty well ahead of time. So pretty easy to find.
Yeah, and I finally figured it out what was wrong. I got notifications turned on, so hopefully I'll be able to show up for more of your streams. We also mirror you on our account, so
clearly Cody and I can't do technology.
Yeah,
you can tell we're getting older. I thought I was hitting mute.
My wife sends me my wife sends me Snapchats, and I'm just like, what? How do I answer this?
It's not working.
I snapped and then I chatted. But you can find us on, and again, you can find Ford on our Twitch channel as well, because we rebroadcast his stuff. So it's really easy to find him. Just find our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/fishcastmtg. We're also at fishcastmtg on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. So find us there to talk to us about all things Merfolk. We love talking about it.
Don't worry, guys. I will give Cody a lot of heck offline to make sure he posts that 1 in 4 video for us all to enjoy. And maybe we'll get some that old British comedy. We'll get some sound effects in there, like the womp womp and the do 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 do.
Yeah, it'll be like a lot of banana slipping noises and the yeah.
I realized as I was going for it, I'm like, all my sound effects aren't sounding like they do in my head. They're coming off completely wrong.
I'll have to find what the name of that song is, and I'll try to put it in. I'll just do like a highlight reel of me.
I was gonna say Benihana, but I think Benihana is like a sushi place, or the place where they like shrimp in your face. So that can't be right.
Yeah. So if you have a longer form question, feel free to email us at fishcastmtg@gmail.com.
Or if you just want to talk Benihana.
Yeah, talk about Benihana's. It's a great Japanese steakhouse.
That could sponsor us if they'd like. Because they do some fish.
I also have another podcast that we discussed briefly. It's YouTunes, so you can find us on YouTunes by Googling at YouTunes. It's also on Twitter. We just made a Twitter today, so if you don't know about it, it's fine. It's at tunes_u. So find us there. We're going to be talking about on Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be talking about the movies of Don Bluth. So stop by for that, because we do it live. And so that's a lot of fun. If you like cartoons, come stop by there. Our cover art was made by Tessa.
I kind of feel like a now, because I'm getting cheated on, and I know about it, and I'm not doing anything about it, and I just keep coming back for more. So,
our stream and other associated art was done by @Ishton on Twitter. He's great. He's awesome. Look up his stuff. He does great little merfolks all the time. And if you like what we're doing here, please rate and subscribe to us in the Apple, Google Play podcast app stores. And also find us on patreon.com/fishcastmtg to support us with all the space bucks. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you, Ford, for stopping by and talking 8Cs with us. We appreciate you coming by.
Thank you very much for the invite, guys. I really had a ball.
Yeah, Ford, this was an absolute blast. I learned a lot, especially about a deck that I've been kind of peering at from a distance, kind of like Lionel Richie. Hello, is it me you're looking for? Again, I still have a lot of questions. Can we have you back on again soon?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd really appreciate that. I think we still have more to talk about. So,
We didn't even get through all our notes, so we do have
Yeah.
more to talk about. So yes, we will definitely have you back at some point, Ford.
Thank you very much, guys. I hope you guys have a good night.
All right, thank you
You
very
know,
much.
you know what we should do? We should actually have Ford and Cody play some mirror matches against each other to see who the true winner is.
I think unfortunately 8Cs would probably lose to just a standard mono blue build.
Cody, you went 1-4 the other day. I was trying to get you some wins. Shut up.
I don't know, really, with any kind of version of Merfolk, it seems like whoever wins the die roll wins the match.
Yeah, that's true. I just meant because of having less creatures and like having all those dead cards. It's like, oh, I seized your cavern. Okay, well, shucks. I guess I don't know what I'm supposed to do here.
I may be dumb, but I'm not that dumb. Come on now.
No, I know, Matt. You're just trying to make me feel better by letting me win some Magic games. So thank you everybody for your time, and we will see you all next week.
Have a good night, everyone.